My name is Laura Romito. I am the owner of High Five Salts with Benefits. My company is actually called Food Geek Foods, which will become, the reason for that will become apparent very soon. I love to talk about food. I love to teach people about cooking and how to make beautiful produce into just beautiful tasting food simply and easily. But first I want to thank Rob Harper for always including me in these really exciting events. You know, typically he has chefs from big famous restaurants, and he's been incredibly supportive of my ventures over the years as a sort of smaller niche part of the local food business here in Detroit. So I do make my product in Eastern Market in Detroit. I've been in business, I was licensed 2 years ago today. This is my 2-year anniversary. So it took about 6 months before we were ready for the market. Now we're in 30 stores. So we're making good progress, and we just made it to the final round of the Spartan Nash product search for Michigan products. So fingers crossed, we go do a tasting in April. If they pick us up, I can quit my job. But I am currently the executive chef for the National Shrine of the Little Flower Basilica in Royal Oak. I cook for the priests and the parish events, and they've been amazingly supportive and great. So I say I could quit my job, but that will be bittersweet for sure. So in the meantime, I also want to thank the Oakland County Market for having me. This is one of the most fun places to come. First of all, we have this great crowd, but also it's such a convenient market. It's easy to park, and the vendors are great, and everybody's really nice and supportive. So thank you for coming here again today. Okay, so what we're going to do today is a white vegetable stock, a roasted vegetable stock, and then we're going to make a dish with beautiful cannellini beans, with some roasted root vegetables, some of the roasted vegetable stock, some tomatoes, and some kale. So it's really a way to use all of your beautiful winter produce that's starting to, we're starting to transition. This is a weird time of year for vegetables. We've got a lot of root vegetables still, but we're not quite to asparagus. We're not quite to mushrooms. We're getting close to some of that stuff. So I thought it would be nice to do one last hurrah of a dish to use up some of these great root vegetables. And also, by using the cannellini beans, we've got a protein in here. So this is a really nice, healthy vegan dish. So before I start with that, I will just give myself a little nod here on the salts. So the High Five salts are called High Five because they're designed to target all 5 tastes of your tongue. So they're very food science based in that they work with the science of taste and the science of your tongue and all of that. But they are vegan and gluten-free and have no chemicals, no anti-caking agents, and they're made with organic spices. So people call them like an organic form of MSG. So what they really are, and of course there's none of that in there, but what they really are enhancers for your food. So they make your food taste better by making your tongue work better. So the idea behind all of these is how I cook. And that's how I like to teach people to cook. Cooking is not just about flavors. It's not just about ginger and curry and basil, and those are all flavors. So everybody's tongue tastes salt, sweet, tart or acidity, bitter, and the last one is technically called umami, but we call it savory. It's an earthy sort of mushrooms and meats, and so that's umami, that's savory. So those are the 5 things that your tongue tastes. So today what we're going to do is we're going to build 2 beautiful vegetable stocks. And you can freeze these, you can use them in anything. If you wanted to, you could start with this as a base and put a whole roasted chicken in the pot with it and simmer it together and make a great roasted chicken stock out of this too. So when I choose the vegetables that I'm going to use for my stocks, I think about what taste of my tongue they are bringing to the party. So in this bowl, I'm sorry, I know I'm afraid if I tip this, yep, there they go. In this bowl, I have onion, and you have this, right? You've got the recipe. Okay, I have onion, I have carrot, I have celery, I have parsnip, I have cabbage, I have turnip, I have mushrooms, and I have tomatoes. Leeks? I have leeks too, yes. And in fact, you get extra credit. Okay. All right, so I brought this leek because I wanted to show you something. Yes, leeks go in here too. Does anybody cook with leeks? Yes. I love them, but they are gross on the inside because they grow up like this through the dirt. So when you break into them, you're going to find dirt inside. And so just be really, really careful with these. The best way to deal deal with them is to cut the root off. You can leave the green parts. I don't use the whole green part because it gets a little too strong and overwhelming. But, you know, I broke this really well, didn't I? So we got some down here. You can use this whole part. But please then cut them in half or even quarter and run them under cold water and wash all of the dirt from in between the layers. It's really important. You don't want, nothing turns off a meal more than biting into a little grit, right? So we want to make sure that we clean everything. So speaking of that, before I put my vegetables in my stock, I rinse them all really, really well. I take my sprayer and I rinse them off. I do not peel them because I want, first of all, the vitamin content that's right underneath the skin, but also most vegetables have, especially like carrots and parsnips and things like that, have a little hint of bitterness in the peel. So that's why a lot of times people take it off, because they maybe don't want that. But that's an element of our taste that we want. That's what makes something taste complete and full and whole. So I did this all by weight. You may not have a scale at home, although I suspect you are a crowd that probably has a food scale at home. So if you don't, you know, you can go to ACO and get one, or what's it called now? I don't know. Go to a hardware store and get yourself a little food scale. Basically, you're looking at a ratio. Onions, carrots, celery. You want 50% onion, 25% carrot, 25% celery. That is a traditional mirepoix ratio. So onions, carrots, and celery go in everything. And it's usually 50% onion, 25 carrot, 25 celery. If you're going to use some parsnip, then you want to divide that carrot in half, or just make sure it's still about 25%. So even if you're using cups of things, that's fine. And then, hold on, where was I? Oh, leeks too. You're going to add leeks. Those replace some of the onion that you're adding. It's not additional. So I get about 4 pounds of vegetables to about a gallon of water. And a vegetable stock only simmers for about an hour. It's not like a chicken stock or a beef stock. In about an hour, you soaked everything out of your ingredient. Okay, so the 2 stocks, I'm just going to make the white veg stock in front of you today, but I wanted to show you what I want your roasted vegetable stock vegetables to look like. So isn't that pretty? I mean, this is pretty and it was cold overnight. Imagine how this looked when it came out of the oven yesterday. You know, just gorgeous. So this is a similar ratio, but I add more cabbage, more turnip. I add sweet potato to this. I add more mushrooms. So this is a little bit richer. And what I do is toss the whole thing with a little bit of olive oil, with some tomato. You can use tomato puree, you can use diced tomatoes, whatever you have. If you use tomato paste, be careful, it will burn at that high heat. So you have to check every once in a while when your vegetables are roasting and maybe stir them a little tiny bit so that tomato product isn't burning. But that roasts together. This is going to go into the pot the same way, just like this, goes in the pot, adds the water, simmer for about an hour, and you have a beautiful stock. So this is what the tube look like. Do you like my fancy display containers here? This is how chefs roll, so sorry. This is the roasted vegetable stock. You see it's not clear. We've got little bits of vegetables and yumminess in there. I want that. And then this is the white vegetable stock. So you can see that they just have a little bit different color, right? And when you use these, you have to think about the application you're using them in. So if I make a beautiful, delicate, like a fish broth, something I'm gonna poach my fish in something, I would probably use the white vegetable stock. It's not as strong or overwhelm the flavor. If I was going to make like one of these white bean dishes, I use some tomato and some curry and some ginger. I wanted the roasted vegetable stock for that because it's got a little more oomph to it. So just think about that. They go with everything, but kind of decide what's more delicate, what's stronger, and that's how you know which one to use. Okay, so in each of the stocks, we add, this is called a little sachet, if you will. It's a coffee filter. Let's not get too fancy here. And also, you can do this in cheesecloth as well. I have parsley stems. I have some thyme. I have bay leaf. I have peppercorns. I have clove. You can put garlic cloves in this if you want to. The beauty of doing it like this, pinching it, and then tying it, is you don't have to fish all this stuff out of your stock. It just makes it really, really easy. Tie a little bow, a little knot, and then the trick is, once I drop it in there, I'm going to tie it to the handle of the pot. So all I have to do is just pull it out, and then it's done, okay? If you don't like bay leaf, if you don't like thyme, you can leave it whole time. And I do that on purpose. What I tell people to do though is preheat your pot. I do this for my sheet pans too. When I put a sheet pan in the oven or to roast some vegetables, like these for instance, I preheat my pan. You would not put food in a cold saute pan. So we often put food on a cold sheet pan and then stick it in the oven. It takes longer to heat up, you're not going to get browning on the bottom, it's going to stick. There's all kinds of problems that come with that. If you put an empty pan in the oven when you turn it on, then you toss your vegetables with a little bit of oil, bring out that hot pan using your hot pads or your towels, pour those vegetables on there, they're going to sizzle right away. You get good color, it speeds up your cooking. It's probably the most useful thing that I will tell you today. So don't forget to do that. All right, so I always boil the vegetables directly rather than putting the oil in the pot. This way they all get covered. I'm going to give them a little toss here. I want them all just to look shiny. If I were to pour this oil into this pan right now, it would smoke like crazy. It would break down the oil. It could get really bitter. Oh, that's another good thing to say. I use pure olive oil. I don't care what brand you use. I like the Trader Joe's pure olive oil. Don't use your extra virgin olive oil for high heat cooking. Save it for low heat cooking or salad dressings or for drizzling on cooked vegetables. It's prized for never having been heated. So then we put it in a saute pan and destroy half the things that are great about it. So use a pure olive oil, or if you want to use coconut oil, or if you want to use whatever kind you want that has a high smoke point, but don't use your extra virgin. All right, so we're going to put these in this pan. They're going to sizzle right away and smoke a little bit. But the food itself is going to cool down the surface of the pan enough that it's not going to burn or scorch anything. So I'm just going to keep stirring these because my pot is really hot. It's like a cauldron. These really are just vegetables. Looks kind of weird, doesn't it? All right, but I'm going to keep stirring. By the way, if you've never seen one of these, this is a heat-proof spatula. You can get them at Gordon Foods. You can get them probably at Target or Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. You know how your spatulas melt all the time, and then the handles melt, and then the thing falls off the end? Okay, these are great. So check these out. It's a very useful little tool. All right, so I'm just going to get a little tiny bit of color on this. I want a little sauteed color on that. Just a little. So we're doing what's called sweating rather than caramelizing. All right, I'm using a gallon of water. Probably you want to use about a gallon and another couple cups or quarts, whatever. So you get some room to boil down to a gallon, to simmer down. I'm going to add this. So you can hear it, right? You got to listen to your food. When you throw something into a hot, I always use the word throw. That's not a very good image. Don't throw anything into your pan. That's not safe. But when you put something into a really hot pan, you're going to instantly hear that sizzle. You want to hear that sound. If you don't hear that, your pan's not hot. So when you put your hand over your pot, you should only be able to hold it there for about 5 seconds. Then you know it's hot enough to add your vegetables. But that little bit of heat that I put on this is going to transform this into a more flavor. Does this smell good?
Oh, yeah.
All right, good. So then we'll add our little sachet. Here are the rules for stocks. You want to use cold water. You want to bring it just to a boil and then turn it down to a simmer. You never want it to rolling boil. And then you never want to stir it. Just leave it alone. The more you play with it, the more you break down the cells of the vegetables, and it gets super cloudy, and it can get bitter from that. So just a quick saute, add your water, add your sachet, bring it up to a boil, immediately turn it. Now, if you walk away and you come back and put a rolling boil, don't throw it away. Just, oops, and turn it right down to a simmer. Another way you can do that to lower the heat really, really quickly is add some more cold water. And that'll lower the temperature of the liquid that's in the pot and stop that, boiling from happening. So like I said, we're just going to tie this on here. And that's it. So 1 hour, you're going to strain it, you're going to cool it, and then you can use it right away, or it freezes beautifully. Okay, so she asked if we simmer the stock uncovered. And yes, absolutely, because we want some of that moisture to simmer off and evaporate, which concentrates the flavor. Oh my gosh, I forgot the most important thing, which is really ironic because I made salts, but don't add salt to it. This is the only thing that I ever make that I would tell you not to add salt to. And the reason is because later you want to take this broth and really reduce it down to make it very, very concentrated. If you've added salt, you're going to end up with a really, really salty stock. So could you add a little tiny bit? Yes, but it's really not necessary. You can add it later. But you want it to be completely neutral, so you can do anything you want with it without having too much salt. Why do we put the vegetables in a pan and just do a quick saute versus roasting the vegetables? So the roasted vegetables are in the oven for 20 minutes at 400 degrees convection. That's a pretty high heat. So 400 degrees convection usually is about 425. That's kind of how you have to think about it. So these are getting, you see the little char marks, and you've got like a lot more color, and the tomato product cooks down and is concentrated. So you're already taking your vegetables here and concentrating them, concentrating the flavor of it, releasing some moisture from them. So you're going to get all of this color is going to end up in your stock. That's why this roasted vegetable stock looks like this. So in the sauteing in the pot, it's a very, very quick little bit of saute to get them cooking, to warm them up, to add a little sweetness, because it does. It takes away sort of that raw, bitter edge that all vegetables can have sometimes. And then it's just a very quick, light process. Think about how it tastes to you and decide if that's really an element you want in there. Will that go with everything else you're making? Because the thing about stock is you want it to be neutral. You want it to go with everything. You want to be able to pull it out of your freezer and put it in any dish you're making. A curry, Italian food, if you're making Tex-Mex, whatever you're making, you want that stock to be able to go in it. That's why we also don't add herbs and spices to this. You can later. Once you pull that broth out, if you want to add some allspice and some sour anise and other things to make it go in an Asian dish, do it. But don't do it now. Make this your canvas, and then you can paint on it later. Got my little vegetables all prepped here. Wouldn't it be nice to come home and just have this? There for you. Just cut up vegetables. So rutabaga, cute little pieces. This is the celery root. Looks just kind of like potato on the inside. Who knew that it would come to this? So one of the things you'll notice is I have little tiny pieces of carrot, and I have little tiny pieces of rutabaga, because this is the hardest and crunchiest. These two, the carrot and the rutabaga. Then I have slightly bigger pieces of turnip and celery root, because those are a little bit softer. And then I have large pieces of zucchini. I know that's not on your recipe. I had some zucchini, so now you get some. But big pieces of zucchini. And then big pieces, my sweet potato is really soft, so big pieces of sweet potato. This is softer. You don't have to cook it until it's that soft. You can make it a little bit, al dente in the water still. But so you think about when you're cutting up your vegetables, what texture they are, and cut them accordingly. If you were going to do potatoes, bigger pieces. They're soft. They cook faster. So think about the hardest root vegetables, the carrots, the parsnips, the rutabaga, things like that, little pieces, and then that way you can cook this all at the same time in one pan. You don't have to think about it. It can all go in together. If you had all the same size pieces, your rutabaga is not going to be done when your potato is or your sweet. So think about that sort of thing. Cut them the same size. Here's what we're going to do. We're heating the pan, just like I said before. I can put my hand over it. I can still hold it there. But I don't have a whole lot of feeling left in my hands, so I think I may not be the best judge. I've grabbed too many sheet pans without my hot pans to, that's just what you do when you panic. All right, so the pan's getting nice and hot. Please be careful when you're using a non-stick pan. If it gets to the point where it's smoking heavily, then you're ruining that surface of the pan, and that can become toxic. Again, with the scary stuff. All right. So just be careful. You can do this in a stainless steel pan as well. That would be totally fine. All right, so like I said before, I put my olive oil on my food, not in the hot pan. So I'm just going to do a little drizzle here. I use more olive oil than most people do probably. I don't know. That's why my food tastes good. So, all right. Take it. Avocado oil would be fine. anything with a high smoke point. So that means it doesn't break down over high heat. Absolutely. So the vegetables are all going to go in right now. You want to hear that sizzle right away. Now, one of the things that's really important in cooking, and I don't think people talk about it enough, is the size of the pan that you use. So if I were to do this and put the same amount of vegetables in a little tiny pan, they would begin to steam before they browned. And if you overcrowd your pan, you're going to get steaming instead of caramelizing. So you need to have air circulating around the vegetables. You don't have to do this with your hands. You can use something else. But, you know, see, that's one of those things I don't really like to do anymore. All right, so I'm just going to kind of spread it out. Now, I'm going to leave it alone. What does everybody love to do? Stir! It's so much fun! Stop it! When your food first hits the pan, it makes a very loud noise. As the moisture starts to come out of it, it's going to get quieter. So you'll notice, and now doesn't that sound crazy, but it really does. Because that moisture is stopping some of that high sizzling reaction from the oil in the pan and the surface of the pan. Now, I'm going to add seasoning to this, and it's going to get even quieter, because this is going to hold even more water on the vegetables. When I season things, I don't use a shaker. I season from up high. You see how evenly that falls? This is not like a fancy show-offy chef trick. This is real. We do this because if you season something too close, you get clumps. If you season from up high, can you smell the difference in that? All right? Yeah. If you season from up high, you get a nice even little coating, and that's it. All right, now I'm going to give it a little toss. Look at the pretty color I'm getting on the vegetables. And I'm getting that because I didn't mess with it. All right, so here we go, right? Oh, here, a piece of carrot fell on the floor. You know, sometimes food falls on the floor. You have to not worry about it. Okay, so now we've got some nice caramelization on these vegetables. We've seasoned them. Smell good? Oh, good, okay. And I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients. I like to put the kale in at the end. I like it to stay nice and bright and green and not get all army gray looking, so I put it in kind of near the end. But yeah, this is one of those dishes that if you have other stuff in your fridge you want to use up, in this you could use Brussels sprouts, you could use asparagus, you could use whatever you want in this dish. That's what I love about dishes that start flavor neutral that you then can add other flavors to. So that's what I'm going to show you today. When you taste this, I've got one just like this. And then I've got one that I added curry and ginger and salsa to. Aunt Mee's salsa, which is made in Eastern Market in Detroit, has cilantro in it, which goes beautifully with ginger and curry, a little turmeric as well. So if you take something like this, make a big batch of it, divide it in half. The next day, add salsa and cumin and chili powder, and then you've got a totally different dish, but you've got the same base. So you always want to start flavor neutral, but work with the 5 tastes of your tongue to get it really good, and then you can add anything you want. I added more food here. I need to add more seasoning. You have to keep seasoning everything you add. So if you add something later, I try to keep it on top and season it first, and then mix it in so that I'm not over seasoning the stuff that's already in it. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. If you wanted your tomato cooked out a little bit, which I probably should have done, add that tomato in as soon as you add the other vegetables. Maybe not right at the very beginning because tomato will burn, but maybe after 30 seconds or so when your pan cools down a little bit, then put your tomato in. And when you think about the tomato that you're going to add, there's all kinds of different tomato products that are available. You can do the canned tomatoes with the herbs already in them, but if they've got basil and oregano already in them, you can't use that for everything. You've already added flavors to that. If you add the tomatoes with green chilies, you can't use that for everything. It's got a certain flavor to it, so think about that. But I'll often, if I know what to do with the dish, I'll substitute salsa for my tomato product. You can add, a pasta sauce for your tomato product. What is the tomato providing? Sweet and acidity, right? So just think about that instead. All right. There will be a quiz. When we're done. Right. Doesn't that look so pretty? Could you use different kinds of beans? Of course. Whatever you like.
we'd like to give Laura a big round of applause.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So was that fun?
So much fun. I love doing this. I miss it. Yeah. Yeah.
The demos are great.
Yeah, it's fun. Thank you.
So it keeps expanding.
Yes.
You keep doing more and more things,
Yep.
more and more workshops, more.
Correct.
So what are you finding with the general public? I mean, everybody's getting into it a little more and more.
Yes.
Do it themselves.
Yeah. You know, I think the most interesting thing about making a product, I'm not a business person, so that's been a learning curve for me. But this product, this High Five sauce that I've made, it enables me to go out and teach people something really useful that makes their food taste better without having to think really hard or making it really complicated. So it's these 20 years I've been cooking in a little box, and
Right.
it's helping, you know, and that's really resonating with people. They can use this stuff and it makes their life easier. It makes their cooking easier, and they don't even have to know why, but they can. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for edibleWOW. I mean,
Yeah.
Rob Harper at edibleWOW is amazing, and they're so
group.
supportive of the local food community. Eastern Market especially,
Yeah.
it's been great.
And you've got a spot there.
I just will, yeah, for the first time this year. I'm actually doing a pilot program for Eastern Market
Okay.
where I'm going to be sharing a booth with another company. So I have young kids. My friend who has a business also has young kids. So we're going to do every other Saturday. I went to Eastern Market and I said, I really would love to be a part of this. I make my product here. I love the Eastern Market vibe, but I can't be here every single Saturday.
Right.
That's just not the reality of my life. And I said, what if we tried this thing? And they've been looking for a way to get more vendors into the market without increasing space. They don't have any more space, and you know there's a waiting list to get in. So they agreed to let us do a pilot program and see how it goes.
So here you've done a few things here at Oak.
This is my second time
Okay.
here, and I love it. It's the best crowd. They ask really good questions, and it's fun, and they engage really easily. So I'm always really grateful to get to come and do it. I get excited about doing this. This isn't just a demo. This is like it's like a teaching session that's fun.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you seeing with the general public? I mean, is everybody trying to get a little more natural, trying to
Absolutely.
stay closer? I mean,
Absolutely.
we're finding it with a restaurant locally called Rude, and
Yep.
everybody's trying to say on their menu, locally grown or what, you know, everybody's
Right.
trying to stay as close to home as they can.
I think this is not a new trend. This is something that, you know, good chefs have tried to do from the beginning, not only because it supports your local economy, but it's you know, in the past, it's been about affordability. You know, we're buying local products that don't have to travel as far. We're utilizing things out of our community, and that makes the whole economy do better. So that's not a new idea, but it certainly is taking off like crazy right now. And there have been a few, you know, younger chefs who have really pioneered this idea, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's, you know, this is Alice Waters and Chez Panisse in California. She's been doing this for 30 years. This is, we're getting caught up over here. And Michigan is such a great place to do this because we have a shorter growing season, but we have so much produce. And cooking in Michigan in July and August and September and October, there's nowhere better.
We have everything.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
The access, I just get so excited when those months are coming because of what's going to be available.
Sure.
But then we also now, I think people are like, just evidenced by these winter cooking demos, people are still wanting to come out and see what to do with winter squash and what to do with things they can still get locally.
Sure.
We really shouldn't be eating strawberries in January, you know? They don't taste good, and they've traveled on, you know, 18 different vehicles to get to you, and that's not how we should be eating. We should be eating what's in season.
So it's a seasonal eat.
Everything should be. And you know, once in a while we crave something, and we're going to buy something that was grown in a greenhouse or something like that. But for the most part, eat what's available in season at your farmer's market.
Well, it's been a good run at the market here, and we're having a great time. So, with that said, this is the end, but it's not the end for the market. Everybody, come on out to the Oakland County Farmers Market. So many things, so many great things to see. All the local vegetables and growing techniques and what you can do. It's a good place to stop by. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.